Hi, welcome to the Learn RubyMotion episode number 12. In this episode, we are going to build the tab bar at the bottom. So this is the final application that would be built. So at the bottom, we have these four tabs. You click on dynamic and we see the list of programming languages which are dynamic. This gets us the list of all programming languages, and finally we have more which will be used in later episodes. So now let's look at the code. So let's start with app delegate. So in the case of app delegate, we can see that I am building the tab bar and I am adding four tabs. And these four tabs are static languages controller, dynamic language controller, all languages controller, and more actions controller. So let's look at static languages controller. So this is subclassing base languages controller, which we will look at shortly. In the init statement, I am setting tab bar item as UI tab bar item, and then the name and the image. And these are the images which I downloaded, which are from internet, and this is what I could get my hands on, which were free and were iOS compatible. We set the title static, and then in the view did load we do super, then we do navigation item title, which is a static languages, and then view.data source and delegate to self, and then we make use of language service. So one thing that I missed out was in the case of app delegate, we create an instance of language service and we have an attribute reader on that. So we invoke that service dot static to get the list of static programming languages. Once we get those programming languages, we get the keys, and then we do the table view. In the table view, we set the reuse identifier, and then we do super. So let's look at base languages controller. So in the base languages controller, this is a subclass of UI table view controller. So all the three tabs, the static, the dynamic, and the all, they are subclassing UI table view controller, and then they all get this method table view number of rows in section, which is data.count. And this is a lot of boilerplate code, which is nothing else but getting the row number and then get the inventor name from the data and then display the inventor name and the programming language. Now let's look at the service. So previously we had the service, and just as a recap, let's look at any of the programming languages. We have the name, the inventor name, whether they are static or not, dynamic or not, Wikipedia link, and inventor Wikipedia link. But in this episode, I added these two methods, def static and def dynamic. So in the case of static, I am querying for static programming languages, and in the case of dynamic, I am querying for dynamic programming languages. So now let's look at dynamic languages controller. Dynamic languages controller is very similar to static languages controller. I have the title as dynamic. I'm using the picture binocular. And in the view did load, I have the title dynamic languages. And when I invoke language service, I say language service.dynamic because I want dynamic programming languages. In the case of all, it is language service.all. Everything else is same. In this case, I'm using the image bell, and I guess that's about it. Before I go, I just wanted to show you the resources where I put in the pictures. So these are my three pictures, and I'm accessing these pictures using the rmq helper command rmq.image.resource. And as discussed previously, in order to use RMQ, I need this gem called RubyMotion query. And I guess that's it. I will see you next time. Thank you.